In the battle against an ancient dragon, men are trampled on like mere bugs by the yellow beast. Just then 2 guys arrive on horseback. Davion, dressed as a knight, immediately engages the dragon in a fierce fight. He doesn't attack head-on but tries to bind the beast with chains. However, it soon flees underground and Davion decides to seek it out. Alone underground, he is attacked by the beast but still manages to hold his own and kills it using his hunting crystal. While claiming their spoils, the party encounters a dragon nest filled with the corpses of dragons who fought each other to death. When they find a huge hole, Bram explains it was dug by the Eldwurms, which are old, wise, and powerful dragons. When the idea of attacking it is spoken by the captain, Davion adds that they should pray it doesn't wake up. Later, Davion and Bram lead the parade around town with the slain dragon's head to put the people's minds at ease. While celebrating in a pub, Davion encounters a girl by the bar called Mirana and instantly falls for her. When she is served some beer, the quality is terrible, however she is still highly charged for it. When Davion volunteers to pay, the owner tells him not to as he is the dragon knight who slew a dragon. Just then, the captain from the hunt interrupts, mocking Davion for running away from the Eldwurm. Davion again explains that even 20 skilled knights cannot slay such a beast, and by the time he looks to go back, Mirana moves on to conduct her business. She meets with an information broker who gives her clues on where to find the lotuses she seeks. While their negotiation comes to an end, a drunk interrupts them as he thinks the broker was hitting on the ladies, and in turn he attacks him. Just then, his hood falls and reveals the man is actually an elf. This discovery agitates everyone as elves are scorned by humans. But luckily, Davion takes the elf to deal with him outside, but when no one is looking he lets him go. In the morning, Bram comes in to inform Davion that the captain has gone to slay the Eldwurm. In haste, Davion quickly sets out to stop him while ordering Bram to get reinforcements. Davion arrives at the nest only to find the captain has slain the Eldwurm. However, it is revealed that he is possessed by an entity that begins to torment Davion using his tragic past. The demon tries to persuade Davion into letting him into his body, but a powerful dragon called Slyrak appears to avenge his Eldwurm brother. A breath from Slyrak immediately incinerates the captain. When Slyrak goes to tell Davion to run away, the demon quickly takes over the body of the dead Eldwurm. The 2 dragons engage each other in an intense battle that leaves Davion speechless. Soon, Slyrak is knocked down, but he proves his determination and continues to fight. On the other hand, Davion finds himself moving to aid the dragon against the demon, and together they manage to make the demon flee. Afterward, Slyrak collapses from his injuries, so Davion decides to ease his pain by ending him. Before he does, Slyrak cuts his throat in an instant. Davion manages to emerge from the hole, but he is attacked by some bandits who want to loot him. He wakes up naked to the sight of a saber-tooth, Princess Mirana, and Marcy, her aide. Later, Mirana tries to question Davion, but he explains that all his memories are murky and jumbled. The duo let him accompany them until they get to the city. They arrive at an inn, whose owner is an acquaintance of Davion's, so they are allowed to lodge for free. While drinking, Davion coughs up a ring that another customer recognizes belonged to his brother. The customer confronts him, revealing his brother and friends were recently found shredded to pieces, and a dragon knight's armor was also found with the bodies. He attacks Davion, however he manages to defeat him with ease. Meanwhile, Mirana is surprised that the black market doesn't look black but rather flashy. They are led inside where they are welcomed by Nikto. While trying to negotiate, the broker elf who works for Nikto reveals her identity, as well as the fact that she is wanted. They are then taken to an underground cellar to be sold off, but unfortunately for the traders, Mirana and Marcy are no ordinary ladies. Marcy attacks the men barehanded, defeating everyone present easily. Mirana also succeeds in getting valuable information out of the elf. They find a shop owner, a collector who reveals he doesn't have any information about the lotuses, and then refers them to a sage who resides in a valley. Before leaving, Mirana asks Davion to come with them, but he refuses, stating that he cannot dishonor himself by running from a fight. Shortly after, a horde of bandits surrounds Davion and soon the fighting begins. However, he isn't strong enough to hold his own against so many foes. Just as he is to be killed, Mirana and Marcy intervene with their arrows, giving Davion enough time to transform into a monster. In this form, he shreds everyone present. As he moves to slay the last bandit, he gets a glimpse of himself from his armor, and after seeing that he has become a monster, he becomes emotionally unstable, reverting him back to his human form. Mirana then appears just in time to take him away before the city's soldiers arrive. Elsewhere, we find an elf in a temple looking to steal the lotuses. Although she tries to shapeshift, Mirana catches on. Mirana uses her moonlight blessings to summon arrows on the elf, who is skilled with shadow magic, and she manages to escape towards the forest. The elf, called Fimrin, meets up with her friends and reveals the stolen lotuses she got from the Silver Night Woods. Meanwhile, Davion is plagued with nightmares night after night, forcing Mirana to stand guard in case he transforms. In the elven village, the kids are told the tale of Selamine, the dark moon goddess, and how they await their true goddess's arrival through the lotuses. She reveals she plans to visit the sage and offer him the lotuses in exchange for his help. Elsewhere, Mirana leads the group through a dangerous path to hasten their journey. While threading it, the ground caves in, and despite their attempts to outrun it, they find themselves in a tight spot. To save the others, Mirana sacrifices herself and falls into an ice pit. Fimrin leads her friends to the sage tower surrounded by flowers. Inside, the halls and passages are big and empty, filled only with books. Soon Fimrin is suddenly summoned into a void, and after she is questioned, the sage shows himself. Fimrin immediately presents the lotuses to him, but he calls her a thief and reveals no offering can bring her goddess back. He tosses a coin that teleports her to her friends in the woods. Meanwhile, Mirana finds herself in a cave filled with zombies. She gets scared and begins praying to her goddess for salvation. Deep in the cave, she encounters a light and the source of the madness. She begins to get consumed by it, but then a mysterious being reveals itself to her, thus bringing her back to her senses. She immediately runs for her life while being chased by the zombies. She continues the battle outside using her arrow to protect herself, however she is soon overpowered. Luckily, Davion comes to her aid and pays his dues by getting her to safety. Fimrin's group is suddenly ambushed by a warrior who requests for the lotuses. Although they tell her it isn't with them, she kills one of them. Fearing for their lives, the others scram to get their weapons but are also killed. The warrior traps Fimrin with her magic, but before she slices off her head, the sage intervenes and removes Fimrin from the scene. The next day, Davion takes his companions to a branch of dragons hold his home. While moving towards a moment, they are interrupted by the arrival of another dragon knight, Cadden, who comes in with a slain dragon. While Cadden skins the dragon, Davion begins to sympathize with its corpse. He quickly excuses himself, and when Mirana confronts him, he reveals he had the urge to fight Cadden for brutality. For dinner, Cadden prepares the meat of the slain dragon, but Davion refuses to eat. Although Mirana tries to cover for him, Cadden's suspicions continue to grow. He tells Mirana of a story when a set of dragon warriors banded together to slay a wormling. Before they could take action, the dragon began raining destruction on the city. They immediately confronted it. Its size and the might of its flames killed all 30 members of the party apart from Cadden. Cadden reveals the dragon's name was Slyrak, and he recently found his lair but didn't find him inside. After investigation, he found its dead body and Davion's necklace at the scene. After the story, Davion explains his encounter to him, so Cadden vows to help him as brothers of the same order. Using the lotuses, the sage projects himself to Selimine, and here, he tries to negotiate with her. At night, Cadden captures Davion and begins torturing him to reveal Slyrak's form. After a while, Slyrak shows himself, but Cadden shows no fear while the prideful dragon rants about his supremacy. Cadden breaks his chains, and so the battle begins. Cadden overpowers Slyrak with his unique armor, but soon, Marcy and the others come to help. Just then, Slyrak transforms into a full-blown dragon and engages Cadden in an intense battle. Cadden surprisingly holds his own, but when there's a direct exchange, Slyrak is the last fighter flying. It turns out the sage and Selimine were once married and had a daughter. The sage reveals his hatred for her was the fact she didn't save their dying daughter despite having the power to. His presence angers Selimine, so she appears to her worshippers proclaiming war on the elves, whose act made it possible for the sage to contact her. After the proclamation, Luna, the captain of the Night Silverwoods, assembles her soldiers of the Dark Moon Order to battle. The soldiers are teleported to the different elven enclaves all at once, where they begin the subjugation. Davion in his dragon form brings the entire group to safety before crashing down unconscious. His mind, however, is taken to a dream world where he walks into the midst of the other Eldwurms. Here, the Thunder Dragon reveals the name of the demon who killed Slyrak to be Terrorblade. With Davion trapped in the dream, Slyrak awakens in control and attacks Mirana and Marcy. They flee on the Saber-Tooth only to crash into the forest. Mirana wakes up from the crash only to find that Marcy has been injured. Moving forward, Marcy notices Mirana dropped a crystal, so she picks it up. Meanwhile, Slyrak continues to chase them into a cave where he sends his flames in his stead. They succeed in evading him under the cover of the mountain, and while in hiding, Marcy figures out the crystal is the key to finding the sage. Mirana becomes the decoy and draws the attention of Slyrak while Marcy escapes. At the same time, the dragons make Davion open up about his hatred for dragons and how he wishes to kill every last one of them. However, he adds that he has seen the demon and now realizes Terrorblade is a greater evil than them. While the dragons make their decision, Mirana attacks Slyrak where he is injured and causes him to crash. Coming face to face with the dragon, her words reach Davion in the dream, so Slyrak and Davion swaps consciousness, thus making him human again. Davion enters the tower with his injured companions, and while the sage has no intention of helping them, he changes his mind upon seeing the green crystal. At the elven village, everyone is forced to swear fealty to Selimine. Later, Luna leads her army to seek out the rebels. Deep in the mysterious forest, they are attacked by archers from all directions. Luna uses her moon magic to stop the attack, but soon after, the rebels continue the attack themselves. First, Luna orders a retreat when they are overwhelmed. Halfway out, she stops and orders her men to go back into the woods. However, when they return, they encounter a hideous sight. The sage explains that the 8 pillars supporting the existence of the world are the souls of the Eldwurms, and Terrorblade hopes to get them all and reshape the world as he sees fit. Although he enchants Davion's necklace to keep Slyrak at bay, the sage adds that he would soon die when Slyrak is ready to be unleashed into the world again. When Mirana and Marcy awaken from their healing process, the sage decides to show them the true nature of their goddess. He reveals to them the destruction Selimine is bringing upon the elves by using her trusted servant Luna. Seeing the obvious truth, Mirana doesn't believe and refers to the sage as the devil of the moon. He magnanimously allows them some time to make their decision. Luna's army continues to destroy the elves until the leader of the rebel legion reveals herself. She surrenders, asking that her life be taken and her followers spared, but Luna kills them all and leaves her alive. The sage returns the lotuses to Mirana with the condition that the Moon Order retreats from the Elven Enclave. Before they leave, he makes an indestructible outfit for Davion for his transformation and also lends Fimrin to them as a guide. After they leave, the sage wakes the storm dragon and begins the process of containing it. Although she struggles, he manages to obtain her soul at the end of the battle. While traveling together, Fimrin takes a liking to Davion, which makes Mirana uneasy. They soon encounter a group of air air dragons, so they quickly hide themselves by the rocks. Davion discovers they walked into their hunting ground, so he begins thinking of a way out of the situation. The sage has memories of his time with his daughter, who was abandoned by her mother, the goddess. She suddenly developed an illness, so he dedicated his life to curing her. He continued to live with his brilliant child alone in the tower, while at the same time working with scholars about her disease. As a last resort, he is told to seek the help of the child's mother, so he gets angry. The next morning, Mirana reveals that Fimrin had run away with the lotuses. Fimrin soon encounters an air dragon but manages to keep her head in place. However, she drops the box in the river. She goes to retrieve it, but it doesn't teleport when she uses her magic. This time, she risks her life to get it but draws the attention of the dragons. They begin chasing after her, so she flees until she arrives at a cave. Inside the cave turns out to be the dragon's lair, so Davion and Mirana go to help her. While Mirana handles the dragons outside, Davion finds a way to stall for time so Fimrin can escape. She refuses to leave the box with Davion, so he gives her a touching pep talk. She finally gives him the box and runs to safety. When the Eldwurm have Davion cornered, they get scared just by peering into his eyes and feeling Slyrak. In a memory, the sage takes his dying daughter to her mother and begs for her to save their child. However, Selimine refuses to help because the sage stopped worshipping her. When he finally lets go of his pride to worship her, their daughter doesn't, saying she sees her as a mother and not her goddess. Although she affirmed her love for Selimine, because she refused to worship her, Selimine turned her back on them, leaving the child to die. Elsewhere, Cadden leads a search party which includes Bram to find Davion. When Davion's group arrives at the elven forest, they find tons of corpses hung in trees. In the village, just as Fimrin takes a look around her fallen village, Davion and the others are surrounded by the Moon Order. Mirana quickly introduces herself as the princess, so the hostility is withdrawn. Luna arrives and invites Mirana to her tent. Inside, she hands over the box to Luna, but when she tries to open it, it doesn't budge. Mirana explains that the sage enchanted the box, so until the agreement to withdraw is fulfilled, it would remain shut. The next day, Davion bids farewell to Mirana while she prepares to be accepted back by Selimine. At night, Mirana prays to Selimine and offers the lotuses as an offering. When it opens, an enchantment bursts out that seals the moon magic of Selimine. The elves immediately move to attack, so Mirana pleads for peace. She is attacked but is protected by Marcy. The elves choose violence, and so a new battle erupts thanks to the sage's meddling. When the priestess tries to summon Selimine, the sage interferes and turns her into a vessel for the demon Terrorblade. He immediately takes control of the worshippers, but then Selimine appears from the sky and greets him with a grand spell. Davion and Fimrin return only to find another round of senseless killings. In the heat of this, the rebel leader confronts Luna. The two battle each other freely, with no magic for assistance, but then Fimrin uses her shadow magic to attack Luna. She goes all out in an endless combo of strikes until she slays Luna, who previously killed her friends. When Davion tries to interfere, he gets surrounded by the soldiers. Leaving him with no other choice, he takes off his necklace and transforms into his dragon form. In the woods, Terrorblade taunts Selimine using her unfaithful followers and her child, who died hating her. While they engage each other, he adds that the sage offered to give him the souls of the dragons if he kills her. Terrorblade catches Selimine off guard and she pays for it immensely. Although Davion succeeds in opening a part for Mirana, Cadden's party arrives and instantly restrains him. Slyrak, eager to fight, begs to be released, but this time, Cadden forcefully undoes Davion's transformation and orders Bram to take him home with them. And this brings the anime to an end. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on another video. Until next time, take care.